Hello, this is the second try at doing some Bible study on the page, and I can see that my sound is bouncing, so we are getting sound this time. First time I tried to do it with my laptop and was not having much or any success there. So now we're just going to do it straight through my cell phone, which hasn't failed me yet. So I'm a big fan of the iPhone, I guess. I'm a cliche that way. Anyway, a little bit of Bible study. Today I wanted to take us through the book of Romans, chapter 2. So in the morning lectionary, we've got our two big readings. In the evening lectionary, we have our two big readings. And Romans chapter 2 is part of our evening lectionary. Now, Romans is a missionary letter, an appeal for money. St. Paul, 2,000 years ago, is about to go on a missionary journey. He's going to go start planting churches and sharing the gospel across the Roman Empire. But he needs to raise some money to do it, as most of these endeavors do take a little bit of money to do these things. And so he's written a missionary letter in which he has laid out this gospel that he plans to share. What is Christianity? What is it about? The book of Romans is a laying out of what Christianity is. Just kind of little by little. And so Romans chapter 2, of course, following chapter 1. We're in the second half, verse 17. And he's going to start to critique some of the Jews who are saying, we don't need this new gospel. We have the oracles of God from the days of old, right? So the Jews have been in communion with God already for 3,000 years by the time we start inviting the Gentiles to believe in Jesus Christ. So Jesus Christ comes at about the 3,000 mark, right? And they're like, we don't need this new gospel. We love Jesus. We're glad to hear about him. But we don't need the salvation he offers because we are Jews. We are circumcised. And so Paul says, okay, so you are boasting that you already know God's law. You are boasting that you have God's will, right? God's will is a couple of things. God's will is, Andrew, this is what I have planned for your life. And it's also be faithful by following these rules. So he's saying, oh, you guys are faithful because you've got God's will. You know the rules God wants you to follow. You are a guide to the blind. A light to the foolish, or an instructor to the foolish. But then he goes and he says, as much as you think you're great for teaching people, in verse 20 he goes, let's see, you have the law, you have all this wonderful knowledge, but you do not teach yourselves. He says to Jewish people, you are not teaching your own hearts to follow the laws. You think, oh, we've got the oracles of God. We've been following God for 3,000 years. We know so much that we don't even need Jesus. And he says, sure, you've been teaching people to follow the law, but you are not following the law. Who's going to teach you because you keep breaking the law? He says, why do you preach against stealing and then you steal? Why do you say that one must not commit adultery? Don't you commit adultery, he's saying to them? Why do you abhor idols? Why do you abhor the golden idols of the temples? And then you steal the idols from the temple. For it is written, the name of God is blasphemed amongst Gentiles all day long because of you. So he's saying, because you break all these rules, you think you're good because of the heritage you come from. But you teach people the rules of God, and then you break your own rules. You're committing adultery, you're stealing. And then he lists several things from the 10 Commandments. Why do you boast from the law and then dishonor God by breaking the law, he asks. For if circumcision indeed is of value if you obey the law, but you break the law. So he's going to start talking about circumcision. He says, if you're circumcised as a religious event to show yourself as a follower of God, if you've been circumcised for that reason, but then you break the law anyway, your circumcision becomes uncircumcision. So if a man who is uncircumcised keeps the law and the precepts of the law, will not his uncircumcision become circumcision? Okay, this is a little bit confusing. I'm going to try and break this down. He's saying, Jews who use circumcision as one of the religious rituals to show their devotion to God, if they are circumcision but then don't devotedly follow God, their circumcision's meaningless. It becomes uncircumcision. On the other hand, if a pagan or a Gentile, somebody who's not Jewish, is not circumcised and then follows the law, it's like they're circumcised. It's like they've been brought into God's family through the rituals, through the religious rituals. So if a man who is uncircumcised keeps the precepts of the law, will not his uncircumcision be regarded as circumcision? He then says, then he who is physically uncircumcised but keeps the law will condemn you who have the written code. So when Gentiles who don't even know about God, but they know morality in their heart, and they keep morality, and then the Jews don't keep the morality, then they have done something outwardly good. For no one who is a Jew, who is merely an outwardly, nor is circumcision outward and physical. But a Jew who is inwardly circumcised is a matter of the heart by the Spirit, not by the letter. His praise is not from man, but from God. So he's saying the practice of circumcision for the Jews, if it's just physical, it doesn't accomplish anything. But if it's physical and spiritual, then it will accomplish what it is meant to accomplish. All right, I want to give a couple thoughts here. There's a lot of critiques of ancient Judaism here. And because Paul critiques ancient Judaism, some people think, oh, that must mean we're to critique modern Judaism. But they are fairly different realities, ancient Judaism, modern Judaism. And our modern Jewish friends are probably as likely to be moral people as anybody else we live around. Paul knows some Jewish folks in his day, 2,000 years ago, who are morally bad. And he is critiquing their moral badness and bringing it to light and saying, you need Jesus, look at your moral badness. Our modern Jewish friends, we can't take Paul's critiques and start hurling at him in some kind of anti-Semitic rant. We could we can do this. We can love our Jewish neighbor like we would love any of our neighbors, whether they be ethnically Jewish, ethnically Russian, ethnically Croatian, ethnically Hispanic, ethnically French. We can love our ethnically Jewish neighbor and let them know about the good news of Jesus Christ and the freedom that there is in following him. And in doing so, hopefully help all of our neighbors, including them, be set free from the bondage of law keeping that they won't be able to keep, from the bondage of trying to be perfect. So that's one of the ways we can love our ethnically Jewish neighbors and also our neighbors from all other ethnic backgrounds. But I don't think this is permission to go after modern people groups who don't really represent the ancient people groups at the same time. All right. Well, that's what I have to say about that. I hope that you guys are having a great week and hope to see some of you soon. So long.